Hey, welcome in to another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Happy to have you with us. Episode 17 in basketball season. Oh boy. As always, this Prepcast is streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and our X account, and always sponsored by the great company of Cornerstone Insurance. I'm Hayden Uhlenkott, and let's bring on our co-host of the North Idaho Prepcast, Ryan Scaggs. How you doing, man?
We're good.
First week off, have a little bit of time before hit some basketball games, and oh
Yeah.
boy, it's going to be getting busy, and a lot of teams are going to be playing soon.
Yeah. I mean, you've got basketball, girls started before Thanksgiving break. Boys basketball is getting underway. Wrestling's getting underway. So there's a whole lot going on. And I'll just say this to start things off too, how fun our show was last week. I went back and actually watched it again, and I don't normally watch like our prior Prepcast, but man, that was a ton of fun, and those kids that joined us were freaking awesome.
Heck yeah. No, that was a blast. I was thinking about that too. Like, man, I hope we can recreate that in some form. But there's no way. I mean, you don't have, the kids like Cooper Miller and Marley Pierce. I think it's impossible. I mean, those guys are irreplaceable.
One. Yeah, and then like we're gonna do some shows in the next few weeks of doing obviously the previews for the season, and they've already gotten underway in a few conferences, and we've got some returning state champs that we're going to be talking about, and especially on the boys side too. I think we're going to hit that pretty heavy next week in the discussion, but just awesome. We got some awesome kids in the area. Let's just be honest. In District 1 and 2, and Brock and Keenan were great too, and Coach Swift up there at Bonners Ferry. So it was just a ton of fun. And thanks again to those guys for joining us last week. And if you didn't get a chance to watch our All North Idaho episode, and you're not a huge football fan, just for the pure entertainment factor and getting to know some of the athletes in our area, 100% go watch that last week's show. It was a ton of fun.
100%. Sam Buffington in the chat saying you're late. Yeah, I know.
We
were working on our
Sam.
Yeah, we're on time for you, bud. You posted the stream, and then great Prepcast last week. Absolutely. Yeah, totally with you. It was a blast. Hoping to do more things like that. But yeah, this week is our girls basketball previews. Like we mentioned, basketball is about 2 weeks in already, but we figured we could do a preview since football just wrapped up, and then next week we'll hit boys basketball, and then sooner or later we'll be right into Christmas break. So without further ado, let's hit it. We'll pull up the coaches poll for the North Idaho North Idaho preseason coaches poll. They also released it throughout the state. But Scaggs will start in 6A. Coeur d'Alene right now, they're sitting 4-0 in the year. And boy, oh boy, have they played a tough schedule and have really looked good.
Yep. No, they did. They lined it up early well. And they did what they needed to do going down to Boise and taking care of the Treasure Valley schools. They beat Boise, beat Owyhee and Mountain View, and then they beat Lewiston last week. That win, I will say this, that win against Mountain View is a really good win, and beating Boise too by 2, in a raucous environment down there, and just an awesome showing so far from Coeur d'Alene. And there's huge aspirations around that team. And the big part of their schedule that's coming up, I think, that needs to be noted. Tomorrow night they're playing Eagle at Coeur d'Alene. Then they host Meridian Friday and then play Rocky Mountain on Saturday. We want to know if Coeur d'Alene is a legit title contender. We're going to find it out this week with Eagle and Rocky Mountain games, especially coming into town. Those are 3 big games, but 2 especially are going to be really huge because Eagle and Rocky are legit title contenders.
That's insane. I didn't realize that. I thought, playing 3 SIC teams off the get-go would be a tough schedule enough. And I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, they get 2 of the 3 top ones coming in this week. So then they're going to go play in the Tournament of Champions the week after, before Christmas break. And then, they're going to get a couple big games too, playing at Ferris, and then Big Sky, Montana's coming to town in early January before they hit the meat of their IEL schedule. I think they did a great job with their schedule. They want to be battle tested going into the league end of things. We're going to find out a whole lot because there's a ton of title aspirations, and you'll see, preseason previews and rankings and everything coming out. And a ton of people are picking the Vikings to win the state championship. And I think that's a safe bet. I mean, you look at the pieces that are returning between Semper Mosnick and Wallace and Colvin. I mean, there's some great talent within that lineup. This Coeur d'Alene team's loaded for bear. And they're going to be loaded and ready for a title run. Whether or not they get there, I mean, they're going to have to put the pieces together. They ended up slipping to Hawaii last year in the semifinals, and then ended up losing again to Madison in the third place game. Not the overall finish I think that team wanted, but I think they learned a lot about the mental toughness side of things. It'll translate to this season to be able to finish it, start and finish. We've seen them win 2 state championships in the last 3 years, but can they, with this group, can they start it? Can they finish it and do it well? Is the test, and see if they can get up over the hump, because they really are a great team, and Coach Boyd's doing a phenomenal job with this group. But there is a ton of talent on this roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. Well, there are still 2 teams who are also in the IEL, and that's Lake City and Post Falls. Right now, a combined 0-10 to start the season. If you had to pick one, Scaggs, who do you think's going to finish second? The 6A classification only gets 1 bid, so it'll look like it's going to have to go through Coeur d'Alene. But if you had to pick one,
I mean, early on, Lake City has not looked good. They dropped a big loss to Lakeland. They dropped a big game, losing by almost 40 to Mountain View. Boise beat them pretty handily. That's a team I'm not going to hold high aspirations for. It's a young group at Lake City. And then you look at Post Falls, kind of the same situation. They went down south too, played the same teams Coeur d'Alene and Lake City did, and all took losses in those games as well. It's a coin flip. Excuse me. I would say 100% that is a coin flip between those 2 teams on who gets second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think Coeur d'Alene has that division all wrapped up if they just hold strong. No one gets hurt.
You got to play every week. I mean, obviously you can see things happen, because we kind of crowned Coeur d'Alene with the volleyball championship early on, and then they drop a match to Lake City. So, anything can happen any given week. But the way it's looking right now, second place is kind of playing for, that it's not looking well. I'm not going to poo-poo on anybody's team and say anything too mean. But
yeah, hot take of the week: Coeur d'Alene's not going to lose a game this year.
I think that they could at one of their tournaments. I'm not going to say that. I think in the conference, yes, they go undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think if anybody's going to challenge them in North Idaho, it's going to be in those crossover games, Lakeland or Sandpoint. I'll put it that way.
Well, let's talk about Sandpoint and Lakeland. They're both tied for first in the coaches' polls with Moscow, Lewiston right behind them. I did watch Moscow play this year. They're a tall, athletic team. They have a couple pieces. I think they have a chance to put it together. There is 1.5 bids coming out of District 5 this year, so they have a chance. But so far, Lakeland, Sandpoint, they've looked really good coming out the gates. I'd honestly say especially Sandpoint.
Yeah, Sandpoint's a team. I mean, Sean Kane, our he's the co-host of the East Idaho Prepcast, releasing these picks every week, and we're kind of setting our preseason. I picked Sandpoint to win the state championship early on. This is a special group, and I say this because I think both Sandpoint and Lakeland will be playing in the end of February at the state tournament. I think both those teams are state tournament teams. The Sandpoint group, and I know Coach Love left to take over the boys program, but Maddie Schoening took over as head coach. She was his assistant for the last, I think, 4 seasons. A sponge and one of his best players too. A Sandpoint grad. She's going to be just fine with this group. There is a ton of talent within the Sandpoint team, and you get players like Tomko that's in there. I mean, she's just a phenomenal athlete, great basketball player, very heady player, and the way that they play. I mean, they just spread around. They pass so much, just trying to get their matchups, find the empty space in the floor. They're very disciplined on the defensive end. This Sandpoint team is going to be really, really tough. And we're going to know a whole lot about them when they play down that Title I tournament down at the Mountain America Center coming up next week.
Mm-hmm. That'll be a big one. They also scheduled that Lakeland Sandpoint. Those 2 teams don't play till the middle of January, both games. So that's going to be, I guess they play a little earlier in January, but
yeah, battle for the battle on January 16th is going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, that's going to decide the 5A IEL. I think Lewiston and Moscow are ultimately, I think, playing for third place. And I don't know. I think it's a good season for them. Lewiston has a new coach this year. Try to see if they can build something up and establish some ground. And who knows? Maybe we'll be surprised. We've been wrong before.
Lewiston
very often.
A nice win right out of the gate, beating Timberlake. But Timberlake returned serve and ended up handing the Bengals a loss the other night. So, Brady Bagby, who's coaching at Lewiston, I remember watching him, and he was in high school. I don't want to age myself too much there, but he was a phenomenal basketball player as a high school athlete. But yeah, Lewiston ended up losing to McCall Donnelly. They've lost to Coeur d'Alene already, and then they lost again to Timberlake by 3 last night. But Lewiston's got some winnable games ahead of them. They got East Valley. They've got Pendleton. Both games I think that they can get victories in. They're going to face Post Falls and then a return trip from McCall. And then obviously the Vista Holiday Tournament coming up at the end of December. So we're going to learn a little bit about this conference. I think it's a little early to prognosticate too much because what you've seen is kids coming out of their fall sports season and kind of don't have their legs under them. But we saw Lewiston at times show flashes, and so we saw Sandpoint struggle last year with that group that they had at times, but they won when it mattered most come districts. So it's going to be Lakeland is the one team I really circle and I look at just based on the lineup that they've got. I mean, they have size and spades. They've got a 6'4" post. They've got another 6'2" player down on the boards as well. They've got great guard play around the perimeter. Those two teams, I mean, kind of going back to, I don't want to beat the horse, but you look at Sandpoint and Lakeland as far as complete rosters, those are the two teams that just absolutely stand out besides Coeur d'Alene in District 1.
Yeah, Max Oswald in the chat says Breckenmeyer, 24 points,
Yep.
5 passes, 5 assists, 4 bours over the win against Moscow last
Brecken's
night.
a stud. She's so good. I mean, you throw her with Jordan Tomko, they've got a 1-2-3 punch there at Sandpoint that's going to put up points nightly.
Good to know. That'll be fun to watch throughout the year. 4A Scaggs, Bonners Ferry, Timberlake tied for first. I'm assuming the coaches decide to vote for each other and
or themselves.
or themselves. You're right. They could have done that. And here we are. Timberlake, that good team last year, lost a lot of seniors. Bonners Ferry, not near as good, but probably, maybe, have the best player in the conference.
Yeah. I mean, Taryn Bateman's, she's awesome. She's a great basketball player. Timberlake stumbled. They have, you talk about tough schedules. Let's look at Timberlake's schedule real quick. Is, opening the year with Lewiston, then they play Lakeland. They play a return trip with Lewiston. They've got Lakeside tomorrow, Sandpoint next week, Lakeside again next week, Lake City, then Sandpoint again, and then they're playing at a tournament at West Valley in Spokane. Not the way you want to start the year as far as if it's going to be in the win or loss column, because I think they could take some lumps in some of those games. But I think if you're wanting to be battle tested as you approach the postseason, I mean, this is it. I mean, that's how you have to schedule for that group for the Tigers. And then looking at Bonners Ferry, I mean, they opened with a loss to Lakeside. They lost to Sandpoint, and then they beat East Valley from Spokane last night. They won that game pretty handily. They're going to take on Moscow, then Stillwater Christian out of Montana. Then they've got Lakeland and Moscow and Coeur d'Alene. So a bit of a hard stretch for that Bonners Ferry team. And another thing to keep an eye on too is they got to play Deer Park, which is another really good school out of Washington. And then playing that Reardon tournament. If they play Reardon, that's another really, really well-coached team, a smaller school, but very, very tough. This is a huge, brutal run for Bonners Ferry to start the year, and it doesn't really get any easier as you look towards the end of the season. So, one of these teams, realistically, you could see going into districts, if Bonners Ferry is able to do it, they could be entering things with a losing record, which would be, I mean, it would suck. But at the same time, like you look at the strength of schedule is absolutely through the roof for both these teams.
Yeah, you could have a losing record, make the state tournament, and have a decent max preps ranking, depending how all those other teams do from, really outside of the state. But, a running theme that we're going to see throughout this is Lakeside. We'll get to them later, but that's a solid team. And although it is 2A, I mean, they're gonna punch up. Yeah, they're gonna
punch up. That's for sure. Yeah, you nailed it right there.
Yeah, all right. Well, 3A. We've seen a lot of teams from 3A go, but typically it's Grangeville. Grangeville's been going for the last few years, and Kellogg's got in the party lately. Grangeville lost a couple players. They lost Madeline Green. She went on to play at LCSC as a freshman this year. But then there's Kellogg, Orfino, Priest River, St. Mary's, and I think that's a fairly accurate description of what these standings would look like. What do you think? Is there a chance Kellogg or Priest River move up?
I think Priest River is the team that people are sleeping on a little bit. I mean, they really turned the corner last year within the conference and played well at times. They return a fairly large group from that team. So that's a team I would definitely be keeping an eye on within the conference. And, Kellogg's a team that's returning some pieces from last year as well. But I look at Grangeville. I mean, they're really the cream of the crop in the CIL this year. If you're looking at returning starters and players, they've got the star power. You got Karis Barger, and then they've got Addie Lefebvre as well. And so or is it Vanderwall? I'm trying to remember one of
Vanderwall.
Vanderwall, yeah, sorry.
As well,
one of the Addisons is back. And so yeah, Vanderwall, and then you've got, Autumn Long got some great minutes last year for Grangeville as well. She can shoot. And so we saw her last year when we did a game at Priest River. I mean, she kind of took over in the second half. So Grangeville, if you look at pieces, and I would say Grangeville is the cream of the crop of the CIL, they're a dark horse for a state title run. I mean, 3A is going to be brutally tough this year statewide. If you look at big picture, 3A has probably got the toughest field of most classifications, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but 3A is really, really tough this year. But Grangeville, coming off of a nice run last year with Karis Barger in her senior season, she's going to go on to play at Whitworth next year. They've got the star power, they've got the leadership, and a great coach. Coach Barger does such a great. You're really familiar with that program as well, but just a very insanely well-coached team. And even if you look like, oh yeah, but they've got a ton of returning like youngsters. The way Coach Barger coaches, they all get time. You're on that roster and you're sitting there and you're in uniform, you're going to see meaningful minutes in a game. That's just the way she coaches. And I think it's going to get a returned benefit, or, kind of a returned investment this year for her with that squad.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to figure out if I think Addie Vanderwall is also going to play college ball.
Providence, yeah.
Providence, yeah, that's what it was.
Not Providence Friars, but University of Providence in Montana.
I mean, you don't have to say that, Scaggs. Maybe she's going to play with the Friars. Yeah, no, that's a good group. They're very battle tested. They played Malad. They lost to Malad last year. That was the team that ended up winning the state title, or got second.
I think they got second. Yeah,
I think they lost. You're right. And Grangeville was with them the whole way. Fell off late. That's a team they're going to keep their eye on to see if they can get some revenge against them.
Yeah, and then Malad's a dark horse, man. I think there's a lot of people picking them to win it all this year.
Yeah, they return a lot. They only are losing one senior, one of the top players for their team. So they have a lot of girls coming back. They're going to be somebody to keep your eye on. Kellogg did play Priest River yesterday and got the win by 24. Kellogg's got that, Jordan Stutsky, she's a pretty good ball handler. That'd be somebody that I'd keep your eye on. She can apply ball pressure and makes it really tough for a lot of the CIL guards.
Yep.
Without question. All right, Scaggs, the best, no, I don't want to say the best classification, but 2A White Pine. But let's start with the scenic. Let's go Lakeside, Wallace, Clark Fork, Genesis Prep. I'll bring up the comment that Sam made a few minutes ago. Does Genesis Prep have a basketball team? I heard they don't. Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do, but I can't guarantee it.
I haven't heard anything yet, but also that doesn't mean that they do or they don't. I don't see them on anybody's schedule. So, and I don't even see them in the conference rankings. So I don't know if they're playing girls basketball this year. So if they do, it might be a JV schedule.
It doesn't look like they have a preview. So I think I would agree with Sam there.
Yeah, I think they're out this year unless they're playing JV schedule. So, but yeah, if it's a 3-team league, Lakeside, Wallace, Clark Fork, I mean, it's Lakeside 1, Wallace 2, Clark Fork 3. Wallace is going to be pretty decent. Let's be real. But Lakeside, they return all 5 starters. I mean, that entire lineup from last year, the team that played in the consolation final, that entire group is back, and they are good. Like they're pretty darn good. And, there's a lot of pieces for that team that they can show up. And the thing is, that group is pretty darn young. I mean, they've got 2 seniors, but the rest of the group is underclassmen, but they all play. And I'm looking at Clark Fork. That's my bad. But with Lakeside, they all show up night in, night out, and that group is tough as any. And that's my dark horse. I had said, like, kind of we're doing preseason picks that you'll see, but everybody's like, nobody had real solid answers for who's the tops in 2A, because you can throw out Butte County, you can throw out Oakley, you could throw out Lapway or Prairie. I think Lakeside 100% should be in the conversation. I mean, absolutely, they're at the table.
Yep. No, I'm with you too. That team, they play fast. They kind of play like Lapway. They play fast. They shoot a lot of threes.
Yep.
Um,
They love to get
very
you in turnover situations and play in transition, and they can put up points in a hurry.
Yeah. Nope. Last year they did play Lapway and lost. But yeah, ended up in this state tournament, they were lost to Valley by 22, beat Liberty Charter, then lost to Butte County by almost 40. But that Butte County team was really solid. And I don't know how Grace was, or Oakley was the team that was able to beat them to get to the title, or maybe I'm backwards on that. But Butte County, really solid team, and that's one of the favorites coming into this year. Couple residual comments here. Wallace Miner saying they do not for Genesis Prep. And then Sean Kane says Grace. Yeah, Grace is also another team. And that's one unfortunate thing. And we'll talk about it here. So Lakeside gets 1 seed into the state tournament, which is fair, 3 teams in. The 2A, there's 8 teams there and 1.5 go. And then we'll look down in District 4 or District 4, 1.5 seeds go there. So that's, the Oakleys and the Valleys of the world who only get 1.5 seeds. And then the Butte County Grace class conference only get 1 seed too. So there's a lot of good teams left at home come state tournament time, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
wild.
next year's
Yeah.
different, but I mean, there's a real world Prairie, Lapway, or Kamei. One of them are sitting at home. But you look at this conference standing, Kamei right now at the top. They have the win against Nez Perce. That's really their only win they've had this year. That's really quality. Lapway Prairie played last night. I did that game. That was obviously entertaining with Coach Lori Mater coming back and playing at her
I
alma
wanted to pick
mater.
your brain at the end of this about that game, so go ahead.
and Lapway was able to come away with the win. It was a really gritty effort, but a ton of turnovers, really messy. Both teams could not hold on to the ball, Prairie especially, and Lapway ended up winning by 7. But I would definitely say in the 2A White Pine, it is clearly those 3, and everyone else is just playing for 4th.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and even beyond that, I think you've got the 3 contenders at the top, and that's pretty much where you draw the line. And I don't want to make anybody say like, "Hey, why even play the rest of the year?" I'm just looking realistically at the conference. I mean, that's where the star power. I mean, after this, I wanted to ask you to pick a player from each class or from each league to keep an eye on for this year. I think that's something that we could add to the show. But Kamei, you got Emma Krog. Like, need you say more? Like, I mean, she's just a freak athlete that does such a great job. Lapway's got great players. Prairie returns a large group of that core that played for a state championship last year. So, and then you kind of draw the line. You're looking at teams that have some pieces back from last year, but we're in, pretty rough sorts throughout the most of the schedule last season. I think that kind of continues. It's like, and you'll see our rankings at the end of the year. It's going to reflect that, or at the end of the show. I think really where all eyes are on, it's not necessarily the 2A White Pine this year. It's probably going to be the 1A. I think that's where everybody's looking, going, there's 4 legit contenders right here that may win the league and district championship in this conference. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun to see things, how they wind up down the stretch.
Yeah. Well, I'll make one last point on 2A, then we can hop over to 1A. I will say, it's always Prairie and Lapway at the top. It's been that way for the last darn near almost 20 years. But Kamei, you got to give a lot of credit to Shelby Cloninger and what she's done to turn, and Brandon Skinner. I don't want to leave out Brandon Skinner, what he did the last, 5-6 years to help out before Shelby took over. But Kamei was a team that was at the bottom for a long time, and they put together a really good group. They had good athletes come through. So it's not like, it's always these 3. I mean, Kendricks had good teams, Clearwater Valley at times, Troy. But right now there's a clear separation, and you just have to get better. You have to see what these teams are doing. And, Clearwater Valley is a team that I look at. I don't think they can hang with the top 3, but I won't be surprised if they're a 4th place finisher.
Yeah,
and that's the team
absolutely.
that won one game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a team that I could see coming up. And
the
same
one
with
thing too is
Potlatch.
what kind of production is Kamei going to get from those 2 freshmen coming in between Tylee Wilkins and Rainbow Moses? I mean, if they can contribute and step up and have the ceiling that like we're hearing, that's a team that, like, if they play like upperclassmen and they bring the talent that they've shown, in, their off-season practices and stuff like that, if they can balance out with Emma Krogan and put a legit scoring threat together outside of her, so people can't just, crash on Emma and hope that they slow her down and actually have, those bounce passes inside for extra looks. It's a team that you really could look at me on. Okay, I mean, this could be the team that can make it interesting with a Prairie or a Lapway with, some of the graduates that they've had. Can they put together on any given night, especially come district tournament time? This isn't a team that I wouldn't want to play them at all. And then you brought up Clearwater Valley. I mean, they've got two pretty good players between Cypress Martinez and Sisha Rubin. Like, there's some talent within that group that I could realistically see them finishing fourth. Really could. And Kendrick is another team. I know they took their lumps last year, but they've got 3 seniors that are back: Haley Anderson, Mercedes Heimgartner, and Braylon Clemenhagen, that you can hang your hat on. I think that that's going to be a team that could make things interesting down the stretch. I think as they gel, as the season goes forward, could be somebody that could give you some fits because of the athleticism. So,
Yep, that's a team that also has a new coach on the year as well.
yeah,
Cammy, I was thinking about this. Emma Krogh. Emma gets a lot of credit for her volleyball. Emma gets a lot of credit for a lot of things. Emma's a good athlete.
yeah.
She is. I was thinking, I don't know that many players 6A through 1A in North Idaho that are better than her. I mean,
There's a
Brooksley
handful.
Colvin.
Brooksley.
I mean, there's a couple maybe in 5A, 4A.
Brecken Meyer, Jordan Tomko.
Yeah, I would say those
I mean,
two.
you could pick one of Lakeland's bigs. I mean, they're both great. And then you could throw in, a couple of the Prairie girls. But I
I
mean,
think Emma's better. I think Emma's
actually,
better.
I
I'm
would say,
saying that. I'm
I
saying that
mean,
in Cottonwood. I
Harris
think
Barger. I mean, what she's able to do on both ends of the floor. There's some other kids that I would put in that conversation for sure.
Yeah, no, Emma's good, but she definitely needs a little bit of help from her team where it's maybe a little more balanced effort for the Prairies or the Lapways of the world.
Because I mean, she's not going to be able to put up 40 every single night.
She might, but yeah,
she could. But I mean, that's like Dave Clute territory. But yeah.
Yeah, it'd be impressive to see that, but it'll be fun to watch the White Pine League unravel throughout the year. But yeah, let's talk 1A White Pine. Oh boy, I'll tell you this. I'll make my one team that I think could be good. It's Nez Perce. I think Nez Perce is really solid. Watching Avery Lux play against Cammy, Grangeville, and Prairie in the last 2 weeks, she's impressed me. She is a solid basketball player. They have some good seniors around her. That's a team that I look at that could play late into the year. But then also Deary and Highland with all that size, and then Genesee with Chloe Greaser, the player of the year. So I mean, that 1A is loaded.
And then and then go back to Deary. I mean, with Kaylee Wood and Allie Vincent, and then Maddie Proctor down low. I mean, there's some talent there in that group as well. So, it's a deep conference. I mean, let's just be real, because I could see any one of those 4 teams at the top being your district champion, and realistically, like, legitly there. That's I mean, they're all in the conversation and they all look so different. That's the thing about these groups, is they all play differently. So it's not like you're rinse and repeat one night after another, because Nez Perce lacks size, but they're just absolutely ferocious defensively, especially, and they have phenomenal guard play, like you said. I mean, they're just great. Genesee is just so balanced. Like, they've got, a little bit more size, but they've also got the athleticism. They can get out and transition and run a lot. Deary can get you and just slow the tempo of the game down. And then they just, bang it in down low, put it up off the glass, and then just run back down the floor on the defensive end and slow you down. Highland has the same thing. You got two 6-footers or 3 6-footers on the floor at any time for that team. I mean, you get in 1A basketball and you got 3 6-footers on the floor that can run. I mean, that's going to go well for you. So, between Beck and Madrell and Fennel, like, that's going to be a legit, like, group to look at. So, this conference is going to be night in, night out. I think we're going to be talking a lot about this, because you're going to have so many great games every week between these 4 teams at the top of that White Pine 1A.
Yeah, as Sean Kane in the chat says, Nez Perce with a first-year coach to Nighthawks top mascot. I mean, yeah, you had to make the transition to the Nighthawks, And yeah, they are doing a great job with that. That new team. I think it's Casey's second year. That was the only thing I wasn't sure on. I could be mistaken. Um, that's all right, Sean. I appreciate the great effort. But even St. John Bosco lost. They have a couple pieces that maybe could be put together. They have a new coach as well this year. That was, they were in the Lori Mater rumor mill. That was a conversation of, hey, maybe Lori Mater's going to go to St. John Bosco before the Lapway position opened up. And so, wow, wish you could have seen what that could have possibly looked like. But nonetheless, that's a loaded conference. All right, Skaggs, tell me about the North Star League. Kootenai Mullen, kind of the same deal as the Intermountain League. They either both voted for each other or they both voted for the other team. Who do you think comes out?
Kootenai, because I think they have more kids. Mullen was playing 8th graders last year, and I think they're going to have to do that again this year. I think Kootenai was the same. They're both not strong. That's just not their fault. It's just they're extremely, extremely small schools with low enrollment and not huge participation numbers. So that doesn't bode well when you're looking for filling a roster. You're going to have, youngsters on the floor at all times with those two groups, and they're just going to take lumps. I mean, especially with the schedules that they have to play up north, they're playing those, scenic Idaho teams pretty heavily in their schedule, relying on that. It's going to be a rough go. I think that the bids come out of District 2 for state 100%. I don't think either one of those teams punch their ticket this year just because it's going to be a rough go.
Well, I will tell you this. District 1 gets one full bid.
What? Really?
Yep. And District 2 gets 1.5. So there will be at least two teams from
Full bid.
from
So
1A
full
White
bid
Pine that are.
I think Kootenai's going to make it in, and they're going to be the 8th seed, and it's going to be a rough go.
Well, yeah, more. Okay, let's see what Sean Kane has to say.
That's a great
What do
question.
you all make of the new coaches? Seem to be a trend Idaho-wide. I think it's in girls basketball make coaching a huge difference. Does club affect who coaches now or what? There are a ton of new coaches, and I think
Continuity matters to me, but
yeah, that's a huge part of it.
I mean, I think it's the fit for the group, right? The trust factor comes in huge. The biggest thing I see in high school coaching, and I'll just draw from my prior experience, and Sean's a high school coach too, and I think he would echo this. Like, your job as a high school coach is to get a kid in a position to be successful where they couldn't get on their own. And so what coach is doing that with their kids, putting them in a position for success and getting the most and squeezing that sponge and getting every last drop out of their team. The club coaches coming in and coaching and having success, I can see it if there's a larger school where you have a larger pool. I think the longevity and the buy-in factor at the smaller schools, those longer tenured coaches tend to have more success for a reason, because the trust is there. There's the relationship, there's the trust, and there's the continuity within the program. You can see some of the success with the club guys because some of those kids play for them already, 6 months out of the year, and they've been running those sets all year long. On the circuits going for AAU and everything else, and elite basketball and whatever else. But coaching is I think bigger at the small school level. It's a bigger reason than at the larger school. I'll just say that, and I could take some heat from it, and I'm okay with that. I will say this, though, you get outliers. Like Coach Will Love at Sandpoint did such a phenomenal job with that girls program. And he went to the boys side this year. He's going to be the boys coach this year. He has kind of that small school mentality of how he coaches. He gets, and Sean said this in a private chat we have between us. You're in that thread as well, but he said something that I think was absolutely monumental. Taking those B and C players and making them B+ and A players. Getting a kid that may not be the best athlete, but putting him in the best position that they're successful. Those type of coaches do make a massive difference. The biggest one, I think, more than anything, or I would put it up there with most other things, is like motivation. If they're a good motivator, they're going to get the kids up for a game where they're playing. They're not going to have those nights where you lay an egg against a team that you probably should beat by 20. If you can motivate and keep those kids driven and focused, that's the biggest factor. And so Yeah, I think girls basketball does make a huge difference. Coaching does. I think it matters more for the smaller schools than it does the large, just because talent isn't the dividing factor anymore. It's more cohesiveness and being able to play as a unit.
I couldn't echo that more. I think I'm thinking like 3A through 1A, maybe 4. There aren't a lot of girls up here in North Idaho that play a lot of club basketball. There really isn't. I mean,
There's quite a few. I mean, if you go to Coeur d'Alene, you get to the 5A and 6A, there's a lot of kids
Yeah, yeah,
playing
yeah,
football.
yep,
Yeah.
agreed. And so beneath that, they need coaching and they need cohesion. They can't just have a coach step in. It makes it really hard. The only
There's a
team
lot of multi-sport athletes. When you get 4A and down, they're all multi-sport athletes.
Yep. The only team that I could see that can I'm not taking away from coaching here, and I'm not taking away from Lori Mater either. The only team that can play that is born to play without a coach is Lapway.
Yep.
Lapway is just born playing basketball,
Yeah.
and they just have that ability to where they know how to shoot, they know how to dribble, they know how to play defense. There's maybe little things that you work on them, like how to back cut, how to set screens, how to run offense. That's something a coach really that's what makes Lapway so good, and that's what makes Lapway how Lapway could be so good this year.
Yeah.
But Lapway is one of the only teams that could really play without a coach and have success. A lot of other teams don't have that ability. Sean
But
says
those kids have been playing club ball forever. And I mean, we talked to Zach Eastman, the boys coach at Lapway. I think it was like 3 summers ago. And, it was like, what sets you apart? And he's like, it's a culture thing. Like, we just buy into the sport of basketball, and you unlock the doors to the gym and turn the lights on, and kids show up. And it's like, if you're not having to beg kids to be there, and you just open the thing up and you let the kids play, and you leave it as a game and you don't make it a job. I think that's where the dividing line occurs with some of these programs of why are they so successful? It's because that's what they love to do. Like, they want to be there. They want to be playing. And so you say, like, yeah, they could play without a coach. I think there's a lot of teams that can do that because of the maturity or leadership within the group. But at the same time, when it's built into your DNA that, like, this is just what we do, we know that we have to perform at a high level, and we want to perform at a high level because there's a history of that. And we've been able to look up at our older siblings or our older relatives and watch them have success. We can do the same thing. We can be those people. How many, I'll use the boys example again, but how many of those kids at Lapway want to be Case Wynot and got to watch him do what he did for 4 years at Lapway High School, that are in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that now they have the opportunity to put on the Columbia blue and red, and they walk in the gym and the lights are on and they're like, all right, I can be Case. I can do this. He did it before me. Now it's my turn. I have to show up.
Yeah, and you have the cases looking up to the, Titus Urouts and the
Yeah.
Peyton Sabotas and the Ivory Miles Williams. Like it just goes
Yeah.
on and on and on.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing. The last comment here on this topic, Sean says the trend is not 20 years
I agree.
anymore. Club was just a factor I put out there. No,
Yeah.
I think it definitely plays a part. All right, last topic here. We're going to try to make this the quickest Prepcast episode for us possible. The
I want to
North
ask
Idaho.
real quick before we
Okay,
do the
go
North
ahead. Go
Idaho
ahead.
9. Pick one player from each conference to watch this year. One
Each
girl player.
conference.
Yep.
All right, number 1A
Or the
White
difference
Pine.
maker. How about this? We'll pick a difference maker in each conference. It doesn't have to be the star player from the conference, but pick one difference maker to keep an eye on this year.
Okay, I'm gonna need some help up north. I'm gonna need some help up north, but I can do the 1A White Pine. I'm gonna go Avery Lux. That's my
Okay.
difference maker out of Nespers.
It's a good
In
pick.
2A, the difference maker for me is Skyland Picard out of Lapway.
That's a good pick.
District 3 is going to
You mean
be
3A?
sorry, 3A, sorry. 3A Central Idaho League would be I think Addison Vanderwall out of Grangeville.
Yeah.
4A,
I would take Paris, but go ahead.
4A, I'd go Malia Miller for Timberlake.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think is it in 5A, is it Jordan Tomko for Sandpoint? Is that right? Jordan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan. Yep, that's my one there. And then for 6A, I gotta go Brooksley Colvin. That's where I would
Okay.
go. I can't help you out yet on 2A. I'm still doing 2A, the Scenic Idaho and the North Star. I'm still doing my homework
So
there.
I'm going to say Wolf. Kylie Wolf at Lakeside would be, she's a player. She's a dog, man. Like, she can just flat play. So do you want me to make my picks real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so 6A, I'm going to go. I know you took Brooksley, and I could echo it, but I think that they're going to get production out of Wallace. She's going to have to be a difference maker offensively, or Natalie Simpermosnik. One of those two is going to have to balance out Brooksley Colvin this year, and I think that one of them will kind of separate themselves from the pack. And we saw Natalie play her absolute rear end off in the state tournament last year. So I'll take Natalie Simpermosnik in 6A. 5A, gosh, Jordan Tomko. I mean, she's freaking dynamite. She's so good. And then we'll go 4A. I mean, you nailed it. You got to go Malia Miller. 3A, I would take Karis Barger. 2A, player to watch. Let's go Kylie Wolf. I mean, I already talked about her with Lakeside. That's a group that's going to be fun to watch this year and what they could possibly do. And then 1A, let's go. That's the tough one. Because I want to go somebody from Deary, but which one do I pick? Because I think Deary's going to be deceptively good, like really, really good. They've got potential, but that conference is tough. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. So I won't pick one at that because I think it's too hard. But yeah, one of the players from Deary. Yeah, we'll just go that route because I think that whole lineup's really, really good.
Sean says state champions are multi-sport athletes. Yeah.
Yep.
Look at the Kendrick boys.
Prime example A, right?
Prime example.
I mean, Malia Miller, right? I mean, she's playing golf, running cross country, you name it. Like these kids just show up, and that's awesome. So.
All right, North Idaho 9. This is something you and Brandon did last year, and right now we don't feel...
Okay, Sean said Lacey Bretveld. That is a great pick too. She's a freaking monster. And I could say Karsten Kiefer as well for Lakeland. She's really, really good too. Okay, right, North Idaho 9. Let's go and wrap this up.
Yeah, we aren't too confident with these picks. I will say that just because it's super early on.
Body of work. Yeah, there's not a lot of body of work for these picks. So,
but I think throughout this, would you agree with this of how this North Idaho 9 would work? I mean, some power rankings don't necessarily look like, but in the sense that we believe that 1 would beat 2, 2 would beat 3, all the way down. I feel pretty confident saying that.
I say that, and then also I would put in too for the body of work that they've had so far with the schedule that they've had, and you look at like strength of schedule and everything else. I think this is pretty fair.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's reveal it. It's a ticker down low. So we have Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, Lakeland, Grangeville, Lapway, Lakeside, Prairie, Timberlake, and Deary to wrap up the group. Which one on there? Which team do you think at the bottom has the most upside to move up?
Timberlake could. I mean, at 8, there's a lot of promise there. I know that they dropped the first game to Lewiston, but they've got a tough schedule too. Prairie is the team that's going to be right there. I think any of those bottom 3. Deary right now, I think, has the highest ceiling. Just based on lineup and who they could beat within their own conference. I think that's the team that could really climb the ladder. If they're able to pick up some wins along the way, they could find themselves way up there. But yeah, I think that looking at it, what we got right now, that's a pretty fair assessment for this point in the season. And these will change as things go on because there's teams on the outside looking in. You got Genesee, you've got Highland, you've got Nez Perce, you've got Kamei. So there's teams that aren't on here that are probably like sitting there punching air right now, saying, "What are you two knuckleheads doing?" But at the same time, it's like, hey, go win games and let the chips fall where they may, because this is another meaningless ranking. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to have that like litmus test.
Yeah, see how accurate we really are. That's the big matchup. Number 6 Lakeside, number 8 Timberlake. They play this week.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Okay. So that'll either prove that we are right and Lakeside's legit, or Timberlake should be a lot higher on the list than we thought. But
yeah,
that'll be it for us on the North Idaho Prepcast. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we'll be back next week before we hit Christmas in a few weeks from now. But as for Ryan Scaggs, I'm Hayden Uhlenkott. We will see you next time.